You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Ready to raise your voice but fearing it might be a bit rusty? This weekend, the Manitoba Choral Association presents a Choir 101 workshop. And to learn more about it, I'm joined by workshop leader, Dr. Stuart Sladden. Good to see you, Stuart.
Thanks for having me.
Well, after a summer off, and not to mention the various limitations over the past few years, singers might not be feeling like their pipes are in the best condition. Can you tell us a little bit about this Choir 101 workshop that you'll be leading this weekend?
Certainly. And you're absolutely right. Many choirs over the last 2 years didn't do much singing, or if they were singing, a lot of it was done at home.
Hmm.
And so MCA recognized that a lot of singers, as you mentioned in your introduction, that many singers may be a little anxious about returning to singing if their choirs are getting together for the first time in a couple of years. I know both of my choirs are doing that this weekend.
Hmm.
And so MCA had this program that was developed a few years ago called Choir 101 that is specifically geared to beginner and novice choristers to help them understand the choral world a little bit, the choral rehearsal a little bit, to help provide them with some tools to help make the transition into singing a little bit easier. And we felt that this was a good time to offer this program because many singers may be out of practice in choir rehearsals. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to offer that at this time as singers may be embarking upon singing together for the first time in a while.
Yeah, exactly that. This is going to be taking place Friday night, Saturday afternoon, taking place in person and online too, right?
That's right.
There's the option available.
That's right.
Where's the in-person element taking place?
The in-person element is taking place at the Canadian Mennonite University. Actually, it was about 2 years ago, the Manitoba Choral Association moved our main offices to the CMU campus. And so the workshop is being held in one of the lecture halls just above where the MCA office is.
Now, you mentioned this really helping singers start off on the right foot, geared towards more novice singers, those who might not bring the same experience to a choral rehearsal. And I imagine that many of the topics covered will help them in their own rehearsals moving forward, right? It's all about laying that foundational skill set.
That's exactly right. And the workshop itself, we've broken it down into sort of three primary sections. We're going to talk about the voice and the anatomy and the physiology of the voice. We're going to do some rudimentary theory, so being able for singers to help them recognize what they see on the page. And then we're going to have a practical component where we're going to try to incorporate everything that we've learned from the theoretical side on the voice and the physiology in the theory and put it into practice when we look at actual repertoire
Hmm.
through
How
the
many
course of the program.
how many singers are you expecting over the weekend?
We were hoping for somewhere between 20 and 30 to attend the event.
And is there a hard cap on that, or if someone's listening and thinking, you know what, I could use a bit of a refresher? Is it the more the merrier at this point?
I think at this point, the more the merrier. The lecture hall, I think, can seat comfortably 50 people or so. I don't think there's a hard cap. CMU doesn't have any restrictions at this point, recommendations, but no restrictions. So we are being mindful of that, though, and are trying to social distance and do the breaks and things like that through the course of the workshop. But there's not a hard cap at this point, and I would encourage anybody who's listening, and if they are feeling a bit anxious and maybe want a recap or a refresher before they jump into their rehearsals, to come on out and join us.
You mentioned those foundational elements that you'll be working on, a
Yeah,
little bit of sight singing, some music theory, but I also noticed that there's going to be some time devoted to the physical and mental benefit of group singing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
sure. We're going to, that'll be on the sort of towards the tail end
Hmm.
of the workshops, and we're basing it on a Choral Canada survey that came out not that long ago, where they actually suggested that there's about 3.5 million people in Canada who sing in choirs.
Wow.
I believe I saw a statistic that said more people sing in choirs than actually play on hockey teams.
I saw that same stat. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
It's a good one.
which is fascinating to me. But we really want to have a real conversation about the mental health benefits, the benefits of being in community with people, the actual physical benefits of just making music in your own self, the release of endorphins and different things like that as well. So we're hoping to bring some of that information from that Choral Canada study to the participants of the workshop, but we're also hoping that the participants that are there will help lead that as well and
Mhm.
sort of provide their own real time assessments or feelings of what singing means for them as well, because it's not only is there a lot of physiological benefits for singing, but it's different for each person, and being able to share that amongst a group of people, I think, is also really important.
So then, just to end things off, what about for you personally? I mean, after a few very challenging years, as we head into the start of a new singing season, what does it mean to have this closer semblance of a new normal and getting back to directing and making music again?
That is a very loaded question. I am very excited to be returning to in-person work. I did a little bit of that in the spring
Hmm.
for the first time in 2 years, but I am apprehensive as well. I mean, again, it's been 2 years since I was really in front of an ensemble, so there will be a learning curve to try to get back into things. I mean, I'm also personally still a little bit on the concerned side about trying to make sure that we do provide a safe space for people.
Hmm.
And I think it's important, certainly for me, to provide a safe space for people, whether that is whether they want to participate still virtually, whether they want to come in person. I think we as a choral community need to find what that new normal is. And I think it's going to take some time for people to completely feel comfortable, because I'm hearing comments across the board from singers about how they're so ready and they're not scared anymore, and then others are still completely isolating. So it's a challenge, but as I said, I'm kind of both very excited to be jumping back into everything and anxious at the same time. And just sort of a comical point, getting back into more of a regular routine. I have no idea how I did this before. I'm very much out of practice in terms of all the scheduling. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Ain't that the truth? Well, I'm sure it will go very well. And happy singing, safe singing, and so happy that you're providing, especially those musicians who might feel out of the groove, the opportunity to just ease back into things this weekend with this choral workshop, Choir 101. I think it's going to be a great one. Stuart, thanks for taking the time to tell us a bit about it today.
My pleasure. Thank you again for having me.